Boatworks today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much. So welcome back to the shop, everybody. Hope you're all having a most fantastic weekend. My name is Andy with Boatworks today. And this week I'm going to cover a topic that is evidently something that I've just kind of taken for granted and thought it was pretty straightforward, but it has been requested literally hundreds of times over the years. So what is it I'm talking about? This little guy. This is a fin roller. Not a pin roller, a fin roller with an F and one N. And you may be asking, well, what the hell is a fin roller? Well, this is one of those little Swiss Army knives or Swiss Army tools you should keep in your back pocket whenever you're doing fiberglass work. And it's as simple as it is. What it does is, when you look on here, providing it's not all boogered up, but there's little channels or fins, and what this does is this helps to remove any excess air that's trapped between the laminates, as well as remove any excess resin that may be saturated within the glass. So because this is something that comes in direct contact with your resins, whether it's poly, epoxy, or vinyl, whatever it may happen to be, it's gonna get all boogered up. I mean, so it needs to be cleaned. Now, last week I talked about some items that I considered to be disposable, such as your brushes and your rollers. This is not one of them. And cleaning this, maintaining it, is actually pretty straightforward process. You just need a couple of things. And to clean this, you will need some acetone, mixed cup that will fit the width of your roller, some good rubbers, the rubber gloves. These are the actual latex gloves. Now, not your nitrile, because they will melt under the acetone. So you need to pony up, get the good latex heavy-duty gloves. I personally really like these ones, as well as a little brush, and if you're slightly unlucky like I am, a dental pick. So on the end of these rollers is a tiny little retaining nut that needs to be removed. And of course, I don't happen to have one, a handheld one that's that small, so drill it is. Fin comes off the frame, into the pool we go. So now at this point, presuming you just got done finished using them and the resin on the roller has not set up yet or cured, you can just leave them in the acetone bath here, and it'll do a couple of things. Well, one, it'll buy you some time. Let's just say you've got some other things to take care of. You put them in the bath here, it's not going to completely stop the curing process, but it will severely slow it down. So it'll give you some working time to take care of a few things, come back, whatever, in a half hour, an hour, and then you can do your final cleanup. But also, it will kind of soften and break down some of the resin that's on there, so it'll brush off a lot easier. But with that said, I would not let this sit overnight, because the resin on there, it will still cure. And, well, as you're going to see here in a little bit, once that happens, it becomes a little bit more work to get it cleaned off. It can certainly be done. It's just not going to be a quick 5-minute start to finish job. Does that make you pucker a little bit? Don't worry, just relax, it'll be just fine. So cleaning this is pretty straightforward. Just get yourself any kind of a brush, something that's going to hold up to the solvents, and slippery little suckers. And you're just going to come in and basically scrub a dub. Now I will say, because you're scrubbing this and you're working with acetone, it would be a very wise idea to also have some goggles on, or if you're going to be doing this kind of commando, make sure you're holding it down below so that any material or solvents that flip off this brush cannot hit you in the face. Now, you don't need to go nuts with this, but you just want to make sure that you're getting in there and basically getting all the little bits and pieces that are down inside the grooves of the fin here. Same thing to the frame. Specifically, you want to make sure that you focus on the fine little threads here at the end that hold that little retaining barrel or barrel nut. Get all those nice and clean. Oh, why do I always have this problem? Oh, finally, free. So now at this point, if you were on the ball and you actually got this initial cleaning done before the resin had cured or done anything, you would be done. You could, there's a couple extra steps on reassembly that I like to do, but for the most part, you could put it back together and hang it up, let it finish drying, and call it a day. Unfortunately, that is not my situation. I let this roller sit in some acetone overnight, And as I had mentioned a little bit ago, if you leave it in there, it's gonna cure. So, how do we deal with that one? Well, for starters, you're gonna wanna leave this soak in the acetone for a while. Even overnight or a couple of days, just not so long that the acetone actually evaporates out of the cup, because then once that happens, you're gonna be back to square one again. But let it soak in there to hopefully soaking in the acetone is gonna soften up some of this excess resin that's trapped in here. I'm not gonna lie, this is not a very pleasant job, but it's not a difficult job either. It's just, you know, it makes you ask yourself many, many times, why in the hell didn't I just clean this thing right away? But, oh well, it's a learning experience, right? This is a good job for Sunday afternoon, watching a football game, having a beer. Really not much that can go wrong here, other than you might jab yourself in the thumb with the pick, but yeah, just have another beer. It won't bother you too much. Now, if you stick with that long enough, you will eventually get it, and when it's all said and done, the rollers will look brand new. Now, there is a plan B, or another option that I have had very mixed results with. One occasion it worked, and on the other occasion it just completely destroyed and ruined the roller. But that is using something with a little bit more horsepower. Now, I'm gonna give it a try just to see what happens. The one time I did this where I destroyed the roller, it was pretty heavily caked. This one isn't so bad, so maybe this one will clean up. If nothing else, maybe it'll just burn the resin a little bit and make it a little bit more brittle, so it'll be easier to chip off. But I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna go nuts. I'm not gonna get this thing glowing red. I just want to give it a little toast. Now, that said, make sure your acetone's put away. Make sure any of your flammable materials are put away. I do have a bucket of water here. That's just going to be to do a rapid cool on here in case things get a little sketchy. So, let's fire up the torch, see what happens here. A little more horsepower. I would definitely do this outside. Definitely not an inside kind of a job. So at this point, it's just the excess resin that's caught on fire that's just burning up. So I'm gonna let it go until it goes out. Give it a little bath in some water to cool off before I even want to try handling this. But I will say, not cooking the living crap out of it seems to have worked fairly well. We'll see when I take the pick to it. And we're out. Oh, we're good. This actually worked surprisingly quite well. All these little bits and pieces, they're already loose. Huh. Yeah, there really isn't anything left to clean up. Yeah, we're good. A little discolored, but back into the bath of acetone and break out the scrub brush. Looking good to me. All right, so now before putting this back together, there's one additional thing that you may or may not need to do. It just depends on how much resin and kind of buildup there was on the shaft of the frame here. But that's going to be to take the drill bit and just kind of ream out the inside of that hole. Now this particular roller is taking a 3/16 inch bit, and it's just going to be a matter of just running this through, cleaning up any schmutz that may have gotten down inside the middle of that barrel, because at the end of the day, what we want is for this thing to roll nice and smooth. So we've gotten the barrel cleaned up and reamed out, so at this point we're ready to reassemble everything. Now there's one step that I do like to do, and that is before you actually put that barrel nut back on the end of the frame here where the threads are, I like to take just a very, very, very thin coat of some type of a wax. Here and it can be any kind of a wax. This particular one it's a beeswax. This is actually a type of wood finish that I use on certain things. But just gonna get a little bit on my finger here. And all we're looking to do is just lightly coat these threads so that if next time we go to use this, if somehow some resin does get inside on these threads, at least this is going to help to give a little bit of an insurance policy that you'll be able to get that barrel nut off so that you can pull the fin off here for cleaning. So again, like I said, just a very thin coat. You can see what I've got going on there. Maybe a little bit more than what I need. So I'm just going to come in with a paper towel. And if there's still some wax or beeswax left in the actual threading, perfect. I just don't want excess in case it comes off when we're actually using this for layup. Now, as far as reassembly, on these barrels, one end has a fat end and a smaller hole end. That sounded kind of weird. But anyways, you want to put this on so that the larger hole is facing out, because that is where the barrel nut needs to recess. Now, these are typically aluminum, both the frames and the barrel. So I highly suggest that you tighten up this barrel nut by hand and not with a drill. Aluminum is soft to begin with, and with these super fine threads, it would be really easy to strip it off. And well, once that's done, this roller is never coming apart. So there we are, good as new. And as far as disposing this old acetone, really at the end of the day, we need to make it evaporate. It's one way or the other. Now, what I generally do is I'll take it, if I've got a bunch of cardboard laying around, I will just take this and pour it over some of the cardboard. That'll soak it up and spread it out over a larger area, and it'll evaporate faster. Now, this is a small board, but if you had a big box, you can just dump this on there and it'll absorb everything and evaporate. Or you can just leave the cup set out for a few days. It'll eventually evaporate on its own. What I don't like to see happen is to just basically take a large cup of this and throw it right into the dumpster. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure it'll evaporate anyways, but you don't always know what's inside the dumpster, if there might be some kind of a chemical reaction with the acetone, poof. So I don't think that's a good idea, but I'd say either let it evaporate naturally out of the cup or spread it out on some cardboard, let that fully evaporate, then you can dispose of the cardboard however you dispose of your cardboard. So that's what I've got for this week. Kind of a short one, but hopefully you found it interesting and helpful as well. And if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified of future videos when they come out every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Central on YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, please leave those down below and I will do my best to follow up with you. And as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and I will see you next week.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.